Well, good morning, YouTube. This is Chuck, and it's Sunday, April 28th, 2024. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning. And I just got done walking old Flapjack over here at the park and thought I'd take a couple minutes and tell you a little firefighter story. Now, if you watch my community post this morning, you know that one of the north side engine got dispatched to a report of a one-vehicle accident early this morning, just shortly after I got up. And they arrived on the scene to find that apparently during the night sometime a vehicle had gone off the road and down about a 60-foot embankment, and the driver ended up being killed. And like a lot of other things, that triggered a memory. That area out there where that occurred used to be covered by the little volunteer fire department that I was the chief of, and I was a part-time paid employee, supposedly, and everybody else there at the department were volunteers. And being me, of course, I couldn't treat it like a part-time job. I basically worked at 24/7, even though it was technically a part-time gig. And so I stayed on call all the time. And that was, anyway, that area where that wreck occurred would have been in my jurisdiction, and we would have been the responding unit on it. Well, over the years after I left, the rising cost of trying to operate a fire department, and the fact that it seems like nobody wants to be a volunteer anymore, forced them to close that station down, and they contract with the city fire department now, which is why the north side engine 12, was out there. But triggered a memory of a call that we had quite a number of years ago, and it's not a happy call, it's a sad one. But we were dispatched one afternoon. We were dispatched to a report of an explosion and fire. And we were dispatched. They also dispatched the engine 12, the same town engine that was out on the call this morning. And our little engine from our station arrived, and we found that a young man had been working outside. He lived in a trailer. It's not a affluent area. And anyway, he was working outside the trailer, and he was using a acetylene torch. And he was actually making a little gift to give to his girlfriend to prove how much he loved her. Well, what he was doing is he had some 55-gallon drums there, and he was using one of them as a workbench. Unfortunately, the 55-gallon drum was sealed, and it had previously contained racing fuel of some type. And although he wasn't deliberately trying to heat up the top of that drum, in the process of doing what he was doing, the torch ended up heating up the top of the drum, and there was some residual fuel inside that drum, and it caused an explosion. And it was a pretty intense explosion. It ended up killing him. It ended up blowing the trailer, breaking all the windows out of the side of the trailer and blowing it off the blocks, and started a brush fire. So I was the first one to arrive along, and then right after that was one of my volunteers, and the cavalry hadn't got there yet. It was just the two of us. And so I checked the patient right quick like, and I could find no detectable heartbeat, and I had no idea whether there may be other victims. So I assigned my firefighter to do what he could for the patient. I could hear the siren of the patient engine coming, so I knew they would be there more momentarily. So I asked, they were a paramedic engine, so I asked them if they would take over patient treatment. And I went looking to see if there was any other patients or what the situation might have been. The neighbors had gotten in there with a garden hose and controlled the fire pretty quick like. And the patient's girlfriend, she was outside and she was screaming hysterically. And fortunately, a couple of the neighbors were trying to comfort her and trying to remove her from the area so she couldn't see what was going on. But, that young man, he was in his 20s, and he had a long life ahead of him. And, but he made the error that morning of just not being careful what he used for a workbench. It just shows you that bad things can happen. And it also shows you that, when firefighters go to work in the morning, they have no idea what's going to happen that day, what they're going to have to deal with, and what they're going to handle. And the same thing happened with that crew this morning. But this little story I'm telling you happened quite a number of years ago now. And just like I say, that call this morning triggered that memory, so I thought I'd bring it to you. So just a little sad one from the files. And let me tell you, as I always do, take care of each other, love each other, take care of yourself. Say a little prayer for both those folks, the one that died last night and the one that died those many years ago when that call I told you about. And you know, give your loved ones an extra little hug, because you never quite know when something's going to happen. So with that, Flapjack he's laying back down. He had his little walk, and so he's waiting to go back home, and I'm waiting to go home and get a cup of coffee. But let me show you, the park is greening up pretty. The weather's great. It's going to be up in the mid-60s today. Just a good day to be alive, and thank the Lord that you are. And I'll talk to you again soon.